finish line. I basically just want to get to the end of the book. I'm going to share with you one hack that really works for me. And that is when I'm stressed. What I tend to do when I'm stressed is I hold my breath. I don't know if any of you are breath holders, but the research indicates that deep breathing exercises really work. Now, how do you breathe deeply? There's a huge variety. I'm just going to share with you what works for me. What works for me is I just simply stop, hold it, and exhale it all out. And when I exhale it all out, my shoulders drop 2 inches, and I envision in my brain, I do a body scan of my jaw softening and my shoulders, all the air and the toxic energy coming out. Anywhere I'm feeling any tension, I visualize it just escaping like an air packet and just going on its way. So it's like this. And it just feels really, really wonderful. Now, on my way home from work, when I start to fall asleep in the car, I take a breath in. Now, that is going to give me some energy. So I go and I inhale and I hold it in, and then I'm like, okay, that helps wake me up. So you can use your breath to relax, and you can also use your breath to energize you by inhaling more if you want to be energized, by exhaling more if you want to be relaxed. So let's get into lesson 31. We have one more to go. This is an important one. We're talking about how do we start when it comes to AAC. And the latest research, and this was a surprise to me, it compared the sentence strip. So you've seen like the picture exchange sentence strip where they hand the strip over and then you read it, the sentence strip. They compared that to the iPad in which the child has the same thing on an iPad. So the child's like, I want cookies. So the child either hands it to you, I want cookies, or they do it on the iPad, I want cookies. It's the same. It's just the iPad or it's a picture and a strip. I would assume that you get more social interaction, you get more speech if you're passing over a piece of paper and reading it to your receiver. You hand it to them, you receive it, than if you simply push the buttons. However, what the research is showing is it's equal. So whether the I want cookies is on that iPad tablet or whether it's on that strip of paper, the gains are equal in terms of speech and social skill development. So this is an important finding because if that's equal at the beginning stages, that tells us we should just head right on into the high-tech device, because the high-tech device has over 5,000 vocabulary words for us to work with, where the low-tech, if we're good at what we do, we have 100 in there. So we don't want to be a gatekeeper, and we don't want to limit these children and what they're capable of in giving them a small vocabulary when we can give them a large vocabulary, and there's no cons in doing so in terms of social interaction or in terms of speech development. So that's where we're headed. The latest research is saying the only con with high tech is the price. And now insurance companies are covering the price of these devices. School districts at the county level are covering the price of these devices. So let's get the good stuff as a starting point. So let's read our lesson 31. Start with high-tech AAC. Amir is not ready for a high-tech device. He can't even reliably select between two symbols. Says who? All children should have access to communication. It's not our job to be a gatekeeper when we parcel out only a few words at a time. For years, I started with low-tech AAC as standard practice, too often not adding new words until usage of the prior ones had been mastered. I began at the sentence strip level using pictures and cards, and my go-to was the evidence-based picture exchange communication system, PECS, which is widely adopted by public school staff and applied behavior analysis practices. I committed to using the same communication system across every setting that had been preached to me in trainings I attended. PECS was to be used in the classroom, speech, and ABA settings. End of story. No mixing and matching was allowed with AAC and efforts for generalization across settings to occur. However, what I wasn't considering is that people use multiple modes of communication. It would be hard to remember a day in which I didn't type, write, call, or use a push button device all within a single hour. In the very beginning of implementing AAC, the latest research indicates that introducing high tech, broad based devices on a tablet compared to low tech picture cards with sentence strips results in equal gains. This is in step one in both speech and non speech communication acts. So, preschoolers with autism who use a greater diversity of words, who have longer, more complex utterances, and use language for social purposes have the greatest likelihood of becoming skilled communicators as adults. Keeping this in mind, look for broad based, high tech devices that provide children with more than just an ability to request. Look for devices that give the child access to a robust vocabulary. Remember, we want a diverse vocabulary. Commenting. Commenting matters more than requesting. And grammatical conventions, such as pronouns and verb tenses. Select high-tech, broad-based devices where symbols are never moved and they remain constant. This promotes improved muscle memory through repeated movement patterns. It's important to remember that simply providing access to a high-tech device is not enough. Ensuring accuracy also matters. Just as practice makes perfect, practice makes imperfect. We want the child to develop accurate muscle memories. Instead of moving the symbols around, we never want to do that. Symbols can be temporarily made invisible and then visible again as accuracy develops. I personally follow an approximately 80% accuracy level in determining whether or not more symbols should be displayed to develop some accurate muscle memory. Keeping an 80% accuracy level has been proven through the research as being effective challenge point universally across intervention programs. To ensure consistency in symbol placement across devices, settings, and people, extensive customization of widely used programs is not recommended. So in the beginning, I would take a high-tech device and I would customize it and use all of this unique vocabulary for this child and for this child's family. The problem in doing so is that when the child gets a new device, they have to learn all over again. So it's kind of like if someone took my MacBook and they said, look, I have a PhD from MIT. I'm going to take it and I'm going to customize it and I'm going to make it unique for KellyVess. That would not be a good thing to do, because when that MacBook is broken or I have to get a new one, then I'm going to have to learn a whole new system. There's something to be said about having that universality in which the symbols are always in the same place. So that means we can have generalization across different people, across different settings. So that's why customization with these high-tech devices is really not such a good thing, because then you're going to have the symbols moved around and the child's going to have to relearn every time they get a new device, or every time they're working with a new individual, it's going to be in a different spot. So there's something to be said about keeping the programs that are already in these broad-based devices and that are intelligently programmed so that they are efficient and that they're based on the highest frequency words for children, such as a program such as Lamp for Life, which is supposed to, over the lifespan, grow with the child. So think about that. So here are five high five tips to put into practice today. Number one, don't be a gatekeeper. Give children with limited speech access to robust communication from the start, day one of therapy. Access to a vocabulary device with thousands of words, for example, is preferable to a low-tech device with less than 100 words. Number two, weigh the pros and cons of low-tech versus high-tech. Current research indicates that the only obvious con of high-tech is price. However, government lending programs and insurance companies can make broad-based devices very affordable or even free. Go for that route. The pros, look at the pros of using a high-tech device. They are immense. And that is, the high-tech devices not only increase the child's ability to communicate for social purposes, they also provide variety of nouns, verbs, grammatical forms. Children who have more of these qualities in preschool are more likely to become skilled communicators as adults. So give them access to all of it. Okay, number 4, take advantage of the fact that many children, this is important, I've noticed this, have had enjoyable experiences with tablets. They like tablets. They've been playing games on tablets. They've been watching Coco Melon on tablets. They've been watching YouTube on tablets. Tablets are like, yeah, this is fun. I have a good experience with you. This makes it easier to introduce AAC devices. Now, however, I do recommend that internet access is not available on their AAC device. We do not want these children having even more screen time, which the cost is less social interaction and less movement. So, number 5, customization of widely used broad based programs is not required or even encouraged. And that's because most already have an excessive language system installed and they're ready to go. We want to be consistent in our use of the same pre programmed symbols provided for the automaticity necessary for mastery. And this lends itself to generalization across different people, across different settings, and across their lifespan. So in the past, I spent so much time making each of the individualize each of these tablets, each of these broad-based devices, and that's very much counterproductive because what I'm doing when I individualize is I make generalization more difficult because the likelihood is that these symbols will change in the next year or two. They will change when the child moves, or they will change when the child gets a new device. So we don't want to customize these devices. We want to stick with what is pre-programmed. So it's weird where you're trying to do the right thing in individualizing, but by individualizing, you're creating greater challenges for the child. Just like I don't want someone with a PhD from MIT to individualize my MacBook. That would not be a good thing. The same thing with these broad-based devices. So thank you so much for being with me today at the drawing board. I appreciate you so much. Take this information, do what you do best, make the world a better place each and every day, one child at a time. Roll up your sleeves and get working. I'll see you tomorrow for our last lesson, lesson 32. Woo. Thanks a lot. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.